Well, thank you very much for this question. And well, even if I know the answer, I cannot tell you. Well, the thing is, no, I think the question is all, you cannot have an economist saying without the answer, it depends, you know. So the question here is actually a revaluation which really is going to depend on to what extent we are going to continue, let us say, controlling inflation. As you know, I don't know if you go to the central bank law, you will see, it's in the website, you will see the first objective is maintaining price stability. So there is a little bit of inflation in Iraq. I mean, it's now, it used to be 2% or 3%, now it's about 5%, but we are watching that very carefully. If this inflation continues, we will have to revisit. It's more than revisiting, I cannot say. We are going to revisit the question of exchange rate because, I mean, revaluation, I mean, depends on inflation. Of course, I mean, you know, the other factors that determine the movement in currencies are a lot. I mean, some kind we look at trade, I mean, exports and imports and all your obligations and the balance of payment and all these things. Definitely, no doubt, you look at those. But those are problems relating with more with the development part of the economy. The question of maintaining price stability is really something you see the inflation and all these things, because nobody else in the economy is concerned with inflation. I mean, the government, when it put its budget, I mean, the government is spender and the central bank is saver. So it's not very important for them to mention and to concentrate on inflation. So actually the question here that we are going to track and follow the development in inflation first, and of course other factors which I mentioned second, and then we will determine our exchange rate movement.
Thank you, Governor. This may be the same question, so I can understand if you can't answer it, but I've heard a report that...
Can I have your name, please?
Oh, my name is Bob Kelly. I am an investor in Iraq, the Summit Hotel in the international zone with the OPIC financing. But I've heard a report that just in the last couple of days that Iraq is about to cut 3 zeros off of the currency, and that they call that redenomination. That may be the same question that you just received, but I wondered if you had any information about that.
Well, I mean, I don't know whether it's the same question. I think this cutting 3 zeros it has, of course, it shouldn't be exaggerated, actually, the problem. I mean, the question is just redenomination, and I mean, people, of course, you see a lot of people that writing a lot of articles in the newspapers, I mean, criticizing the central bank that is going to, the value of the Iraqi dinar is going to depreciate or something, all kind of talk. I mean, this is a question just actually to facilitate payment, facilitate actually ease of counting and all these things. And of course, I mean, when you see now a lot of figures, I mean, you see trillions or I mean, huge figures actually. If you want to be precise, you put about 12 figures or 15 figures and all these things, 15 digits or something. So I think we have a plan on that. And you remember why there was no actually a government decree to add these zeros. They happened actually because of the course of development of the economy at the beginning of the 80s. I mean, just inflation was very high. Inflation was rampant, and therefore, I mean, small notes and these things were actually started not to be used on these things. So government started to add the 3 zeros and these things and at the time. And of course, conditions are different now. Inflation under control, exchange rate is managed by the central bank, all these things. When you had actually the zeros, you could not manage, not of course because of the fault of the government or the central bank, which I think there was, but I think the question is that because there were a lot of exogenous factors. I mean, we're not saying that we are champions now. I mean, there were actually a lot of external factors which affected actually the behavior of all economic stakeholders. And therefore, actually, a lot of people didn't know actually what to do. They have started to add 3 zeros and all these things. So now, actually, the situation is completely different from that time. You had a high inflation, you have now a low inflation. You had actually something which is a stable macroeconomic situation. I mean, at the time, actually, the situation was not stable. So the only way to combat all of these things at the time is to increase the denomination and put 3 zeros. I think to bring back the Iraqi dinar, where actually 3 zeros are removed, and of course this will have gone hand in hand with monitoring of the exchange rate and all these things, and you will see. I think now it is probably. I mean, we are studying that. Not studying. We have decided actually on that. But when to implement that, to remove all these 3 zeros is very soon. But of course, this requires not only the central bank activity. It requires, because I mean, it's something you have to make a lot of propaganda, a lot of advertisement campaign and all these things, and you have, of course, to go probably a campaign to educate a lot of people on these things. So I think it needs a lot of help from the government, from many people in the government, especially the security forces. And we hope that security forces become less busy with the violence issue so that they can devote time for us.
Yes, ma'am. Mike? Just the mic, please.
دكتور شبيبي مرحبا أهلا وسهلا بك نورت البلد. Thank you, welcome. The town is much beautifuler with you here.
Thank you.
With
very
the cherry
much.
blossoms.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, my name is Dr. Kiradagi. I'm with the KHRW, an NGO that works in Iraq for years and years, actually since '92. And we have been working mainly in the north before Iraq liberation, and after that in the rest of Iraq. And I wanted to ask you, Dr. Al-Shabibi, what is the plan of the Iraqi government and the bank as far as business development for women and giving opportunities to minorities and women in microenterprise and lending and helping them start small businesses? I would really appreciate your answer. Thank you.
For women.
Yes, sir. For women and for minorities, as well as for underserved and disadvantaged population, especially since we work a lot with widows. It's, as you know, Iraq has the largest number of widows going from the south to the north. And because of the war and the violence, we're going to see increasingly more orphans and widows, and these are going to be heads of households. Therefore, I do encourage that even small businesses, even businesses and investors that work in Iraq have a public-private partnership with the mainstream and with minorities and women in order for them to be able to have sort of programs, and especially encouraging NGOs that work with women and children and work with women and disadvantaged population. Thank you, sir. Again, welcome.
Thank you very much.